pleasure to welcome the chairman of Nestlé, Mr. Paul Bulcke. It's a pleasure to welcome him for the third time to the Learning from Leaders. The last time we had him on the Learning from Leaders, he was connecting with us from Chile. And Mr. Bulcke, it's always a pleasure to welcome you back at EU Business School. Nestlé, good food, good life. That's their slogan. We're going to hear a lot about it tonight. 300,000 employees worldwide. Mr. Bulcke is a renowned leader, first as CEO of Nestlé, now as the chairman. As part of his leadership, he has always championed different points to know really well the food industry, to come up with innovative products and food products, to challenge the sustainability status quo, and also to give back to the communities on where Nestlé is present. And I know, having heard Mr. Bulcke talking at several occasions, that he has been that it's something that is close to his heart. So please, big applause to welcome Mr. Bulcke tonight. Thank you.
Well, what an honor to welcome you, Paul, Mr. Bulcke, Chairman Bulcke.
We know each other.
To the stage.
Well, thank you very much.
No, and we are, of course, especially honored. It's true, I realize you're the third time. They say third time's a charm. So are you going to be charming with us tonight, or do I have to be afraid of...
Depends on
the questions.
Exactly.
So, Paul, this is a very special occasion, though, for us, because we're meeting here, I said it before, 50 years EU Business School. And, you know, I do have to say, though, our previous speaker, alas, works for a company that's even older than Nestlé. 220 years, we learned, Lombardier. Nestlé is 150 years old,
plus.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. But let me first congratulate the European School, Business, European
EU
University, EU Business School, for the 50 years, and perhaps that I know the person who was quite behind this and built it up, and the family that does further. That's Dirk Graan, happens to be also from my homeland. From a different city, though, which is important. But anyhow, no, I just want to say congratulations. 50 years.
Congratulations.
Well done.
Now, Paul, 50 years is also almost the length of your career.
Yeah.
You don't seem all too happy with that?
No, it's true. I have 44 years of Nestlé.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's a good beginning. And but sometimes people say, "How can you work for a company like this so long?" I mean,
yeah, it's a good question.
And I must say, it's never been boring, because first of all, it's a fine company, and but also I've been moving on and growing. It was a fantastic journey, and. I can still do a few years more, but that's it then. And
so we will be able to also attend your celebration of a 50-year career?
That's still that's 5 years out. No, 4. Yeah, almost 5. A little bit more than 5 years out. For 45 is already something. But you know, it's a good. So many 50 years of building a university, 150 plus years of a company. This longer term thing in a very hectic world is not it's actually quality. This consistency and adapting, because the survival is linked with that you can adjust, and it's intense, and yet it gives you a certain pace. Same with the career. 44 years. It's just a good investment, and of your time. I enjoyed it, every bit of it.
We heard from our previous speaker that a key to success in the long run is keep innovating as a company and stay curious as a person. Is that the secret for you too?
Well, the first thing to get to the long term is surviving the short term.
Right.
But it's true that it's a little bit linked with what I just mentioned. This permanent innovation is linked with curiosity and being able to adapt to changing environment. But I think it's even deeper linked with the capacity to think in context, to be able to see your company in the broader context and give it this dimension of time through context. And then, yes, be open, be curious, and then you adapt, you innovate, and success is a very dangerous place to be too, because you don't learn from success. You have to permanently put yourself out of balance somewhere, but a meaningful balance in the framing of your strategic direction. So for Nestlé, at the end of the day, if you see 150 plus years, and the first product where Nestlé was born was actually this Cerelac, cereal milk product that Henri Nestlé,
The founder.
invented. He was a pharmacist, and he had a friend, and his baby couldn't be fed in normal ways, and he put the product together to serve and to save the life of a child. He said, not a bad product, they can commercialize. And if you see what we are today, we're still the same. Our reason of being as a company hasn't changed. Has changed in how we get to it. But what it is that we believe in the power of food and beverages to enable, to enhance quality of life of people and families, and to do that today and for the generations to come. Well, that's the first product. It's a symbol for that, but that's still what we are. Now that entails a lot of energy, innovation, curiosity. That's true, because the food systems have completely changed and are challenged. There's so many questions about the food systems. Think about the sugar content or the calorie content, and now all the packaging is involved. You see, we are the questions that we have now, we didn't have them a few years ago, and we have to answer them. They are very honest questions. And
do you feel like that mission that Nestlé had from the start, that you are able to deliver on that? What are some of the products that have come out in the last decade, let's say, that you feel really contribute to that long-standing mission of Nestlé?
Oh, we have embraced a whole new dimension, which is, we call it this Nestlé Health Science, which is this better understanding of how food and nutrients are actually absorbed in the body through the microbiome. This is a new frontier. Everybody talks about that and is studying, is trying to understand. It is called the second brain. Now, you can actually, with looking for how nutrients are interacting through the microbiome with your health is a totally new dimension. Before we had, it was to have food, 100 and so many years ago. Then afterwards it was too much of it, nutrients, enjoyment, and now we have this whole new dimension of how food can be answering health needs of a society. Think about the aging population. And a person with a certain age needs different nutrients. He needs another viscosity, because if not, it goes into the lungs and things. So we can be part of this and giving answers. There's a whole set of new products that are coming to the market that is answering this. Other things is inventions linked with, for example, the vegetable the vegetable proteins.
Sure.
That's something we are already working on this for 30 years. We have the many products already, but it's jumped on the scene when there was a hamburger.
Yeah.
That was
yeah.
not
I,
beef.
I feel hungry already.
But you see, that's the nice expression of the whole thing about vegetable proteins. But that's a whole new dimension also.
Yeah.
That is cooling down a bit because I feel also if you want to have a burger, have a burger. But anyhow, but vegetable proteins is one of these possible angles of giving answers to the need of proteins.
I mean, it sounds like I really have to come and visit in VV again and see all your new products because I'm stuck with Kit Kats, I have to say.
Have a break. Yeah. But look, Kit Kat. Kit Kat is an interesting example of. Kit Kat was 10, 15 years ago. We had it in 8 countries. 8 countries, and then somewhere, let's embrace what we have. Quite a few brands, but let's take this brand because we felt it had all qualities of being bigger than that, and that's where we started then to develop it. And Kit Kat was a very standardized product. There was 2 fingers, you know, and the commercials and the positioning, and without actually disturbing the positioning and the brand personality. Japan, we had somebody there who was very creative.
The green Kit Kats.
Yeah, and he started to embrace in these 2 fingers, but with different flavors, and then he allowed people to do some innovations that are way beyond. And somewhere I don't know how it exactly is pronounced, but Kit Kat is close to. In Japanese, close to saying good luck somewhere. And he said, okay, fine, we have the last exams and then they send these messages to their friends or beloved ones saying, hey, good luck in your exams. And that was a Kichikatsu. And then there he went. And so the packaging was used to send, and it was a boom. Then the whole rest, that's reverse innovation. That's a market learning us to do something. And now it is in 60, 70 markets, and it's a multi-billion brand, and going strong. So, and that's a product that is very old, that got like a new youth, and is actually really growing very, very fast. So,
yeah, and I have to say, as you can see, by the way, I'm a big fan of Kit Kat. But I suppose the question is, how do you balance that? If you have these long-term mission of improving people's health, and you have these wonderful products that help with that from, let's say, the cradle to almost the grave, I suppose. But on the other hand, you have like people who just say, like me, give me a burger or give me a Kit Kat. How do you balance as a company those 2 demands, knowing that you have that greater mission?
Well, look, and we sometimes, not sometimes, very often criticized, and how can you be the nutrition, health and wellness company and still having ice cream or a piece of chocolate? Shame on you. And we never say we want to be part of a healthy lifestyle and enable people to make healthy choices. So if I can give you a piece of, and we do portioning instead of the big tablet and then
that's right.
challenging your
you can have a small
character and saying they have the tablet in front of you, but you have to stick only a piece. We give you only a piece. And so portioning, we are looking for answers of lowering caloric content for the same enjoyment, because we do believe that food is part of a healthy lifestyle, but health is also enjoyment with balance. And so there's criticism, and we're part of explaining transparency, portionability, looking for reformulating products so to give you the same enjoyment with less of the baddies, and but also it's balance. And we should not be ashamed that we do have a piece of good chocolate, but then it should be one of the best ones in the market and enjoyable and done in the right way. What is the right way? Then it is also linked with your supply chain, and then you have this whole challenge and questions about where is the cocoa coming from, and these questions are legitimate questions. So for us to answer, to show transparency, to try to tackle the problems that can be linked with that, child labor, So at the end, you're a company, but there's much more around it than just selling products.
Right.
It is, we call it to be a force for good. We call it actually creating shared value. The last time we spoke about that.
That's right. I mean, like, because we heard today about being an impact company from Erdem. We heard today about being a sustainable company from Lombardier, from EBA. But Nestlé is about being a company that creates shared value.
That's the same. At the end of the day, it's we're a company. And I must say that at my university, you know where that was.
The second best university in the world. EU Business School, of course, is the best.
But I learned there, we had actually, that was economy, the commercial engineer, economics. And we had a professor that was giving us the morale philosophy, which is the morale of economical activity. And he said at the end of the day, economical activity is a very engaging activity that should be a force for good. Because the Homo economicus is somebody who does something that serves the society and does it in the most efficient economical way, which is actually resource efficiency, not bad for environment. But and that's where actually this creating shared value comes from. A company should create value not only for shareholders but for all stakeholders, and that has been the philosophy of our company ever since we started. And that is the fundamental thinking about a force for good. You see, sometimes you hear, that's going to be provocative, but it makes you think. Giving back to society. And we had also a leader that once spoke of Nestlé, who said, I don't understand this giving back to society. I didn't steal. I think that a company should be giving to society permanently. And that is through the products that they design or the products that they offer to the society, the way that they engage with local communities and create jobs and train their people so that they can stay fit in a very changing world. It is engaging with the farmers in our case and work with them and enable them to have steady livelihoods and staying in countries even if it's difficult. You know that they started in Peru. That with
the 1980s when there was a terrorist group.
It was not easy, but everybody, all the other companies left. It was not. There was a little bit of insecurity. We stayed.
You stayed in Ukraine recently.
Oh, we are there. Yeah, sure.
So you know, you really believe in that, of course. And I have to say, you know, now that I hear you speak for these last couple of minutes, I would almost forget all the things we heard previously. But previously we heard, for example, from Erdem, who said, you know, we are living today in a meta-crisis. There is a climate crisis, there's an environmental crisis, there's a mental health crisis, there's a health crisis, there's a political crisis. And the analysis often then goes, well then surely all the actors, economic actors that participated in creating today's system are in part responsible for that.
We are.
Do you feel that way, or do you not share that?
Well, I must say, I actually am sorry, guys, that we give you a world that is a little bit on its head, and it is. And I feel also in the generations that actually got this golden time somewhere. I think we did it on credit.
Credit meaning, you know, you use resources for future generations? Is that sort of the thinking?
Well, yeah, somebody is going to have to pay. I mean, I think one of the problems that nobody talks about is actually the national debt. But that's another story. But the fact is now that there's lots of things coming together. After the World War, the Second World War, we had a society that was like, rebuilding society. That's where Galbraith with the affluent society, and we were building this that society on our terms. Our terms means the Western world, which is give and take 15-20% of the world population. But we were dominating the world somewhere through our cause effect Cartesian thinking, the first industrial revolution, the material building up of value in society was what we did. And actually also we were shaping the world. We had that authority because we were successful in the sense of also building then this to stabilize the world, the United Nations, and you go on, the World Trade Organization. That was all based upon our principles.
Yeah. So far,
That is gone somewhere. That's why you say deglobalization, depolarization, polarization, and things like that. So globalization is over. I don't think so, but it's showing another face. And then you have all of a sudden war in Europe again, and then you see this Middle East, but then you see also we had COVID, we had the financial crisis first, where more national, and so there is an anxiety in society now a bit of saying, hey, what was true yesterday is not true anymore, and not wrong either. That's what I call ambiguity, because we can talk
that
about
is ambiguity, because it's like you recognize on the one hand that there are crises, that they have been caused by previous generations, and of course by companies that were dominant at the time, including then probably Nestlé. But on the other hand, you say, well, there's that ambiguity because there's also a wonderful system, there's also wonderful things that have been created. How do you square that? How do you bring those two together, especially as chairman of Nestlé, as a specific company?
That's a very interesting point. If we as a company, we are a high tree, and high trees do catch more wind. So we're quite sometimes challenged, and if we would only manage or steer or inspire a company by reacting on these external impulses, we would be what I call a ping pong ball. You may have heard that before, and more I feel in this ambiguous world. It is an ambiguous world. How do you lead a company like Nestlé in a world where what was true yesterday is not true anymore, but it's not wrong either? Or what was nice is not nice anymore, but it's not. You see, it's very difficult now. Well, if we would let us being defined permanently by these external, I would say, ambiguous angles of that's right, and the other say no, it's not right, and
It would be
more and more we have to know what we stand for, and to and being explicit in this and standing up for it. We are what we are. That's what we believe in. These are the principles. We are flexible to adapt if needed somewhere, etc. But I can speak up from the inside out, and not trying to adjust and trying to please. You cannot please everybody, but be true to yourself. If you have the right reasons, you have the right conviction, the right purpose, as we call it, and you have consistency in doing this, and with a sensibility also to the outside world, definitely, but stand up for. And I think that would help. There's a total lack of leadership, societal leadership now in that sense somewhere, but people standing up for something, but not something short term. Somewhere somebody who can give some color to a society that is not like it was and is me today, but us tomorrow, and standing up for that and speaking. I think that's the lack that we have, and that's why we have a little bit that feeling of hey, and the youth, but here, they say, very nice world you're giving us. We're studying, we're trying, we do, and yet we only see problems. There's something, a society or a country or the perception of happiness of the broader population is never linked with what they have. It is linked with what the population think tomorrow is going to give.
Right.
And if that is better, and that is what we had, we were lucky after the World War and all, every year was better. We worked 6 days a week at the beginning, and all of a sudden Saturday was free. We could not go on holidays because the holidays were not paid, and all of a sudden not working, I was paid. And you go on like this. Every year was something better. And nowadays, you say, hey, we got to be happy if we can maintain the lifestyle that this generation had. That is just retiring. And that is not, and we're going to have to finance the retirees even.
Yeah.
And if they don't do every year 2 tours around the world, they're not happy. That's
But
that
it's
is what the
based,
youth
of
is
course,
somewhere feeling.
it's based, of course, on certain facts, right? Like there is global warming, there is an unsustainable system. When you respond to all of that, and then I'll stop bugging you with this big picture thinking, but when you think about that reality, do you feel like Nestlé should be making more contributions to being sustainable, to being climate friendly, to these kinds of goals? More than it was?
More. You see, we have our commitments, and that is part of the commitments that we feel we should. And we have the net zero. We have we are very much linked with water too, and then you go on. And I feel that that's already very intense.
Right. But those are, of course, also recent commitments. I mean, they weren't there 20 years ago. So in that sense, you do adapt with the times.
You know, these are commitments. These commitments were not there 10, 20 years ago, but we were working on them.
Mm.
If you see, because it's global warming, it's environmental, so net zero is one of these, and we include scope 3. And that's
Scope 3, for those who don't know, is
scope
basically
3 is the whole integrated supply chain farming. 2/3 of our CO2 impact is upstream.
meaning not,
actually-
you know, in Vevey, not in the supermarket, but in
Our
farms
factory,
all
our
over.
factories, our people, our this and here and there is 7% of our CO2. 7. All the rest is actually upstream, and then you have, if you commit to that, we said we're going to look at it and we calculate really a year to see how do we get there, and it is linked with third parties that you don't dominate per se, but you can inspire, bring them with you. All that is there. And, but then also the social things, that is not only global warming, with farmers and this regenerative agriculture, which is something, so the whole food system has to be rethought. The food system is actually, and it is, food systems in humanity always had this cycle. We are on the brink of a major change in the food systems. And it's not only what you're going to eat. I do believe and I hope that so much of what you enjoy today is still going to be there, but the way it is done, the way it is embraced by, where, what, the transports, all that is going to be revisited. And regenerative agriculture is a major mental breakthrough, and science is going to give answers to this. That's why we have also now this agriculture institute in Nestlé. That's where we will look at how can we inspire the 750,000 farmers we have directly linked with that we work with, plus a few millions farmers indirectly, and also because farming is not appealing anymore. You know, in Africa, the whole Africa region, farming is basically the average age of farmers is closing in to 60 years and getting older. So we need to have good projects of prospects of a nice life through farming, and that's why regenerative agriculture, we have to go to youth. And
But so
all that is happening. You see, and this is just, for me it makes sense. This is not answering because we had somebody pressuring us. That helps always, huh? Somebody ringing a bell and you listen, that's always relevant. But there's so much coming from what we have been doing so many years. What we do though is frame it. Net zero, that's something people understand straight away.
Right.
Well, that...
And so, of course, you, having had that long arc of a career, can see that there is continuity in the change. That there is, you know, that this is not something that, even though it was announced a few years ago, it was not something that came up a few years ago. You'd been working on that as a company for many decades. That's your position. I want to ask you, because, you know, you have been with Nestlé for 45 years. And of course, you were not always chairman. You are today chairman. Is this what you do as chairman? Is it the big picture thinking? Is that what the chairman of Nestlé does? What does your day look like, and what does your year look like? What's your most important goal, and how do you achieve it as chairman?
As chairman, you would think, governance, ticking off boxes. That's the minimum.
Board meetings, you know.
You have to do that. You have to
Executive
organize
pay.
that. You have to have a good board, etc. But at the end, a chairman is chairing a board. So the biggest job that the chairman has is to have a good board. And a good board is a board that really understands that the major role is to keep a company healthy. Over time. Means today too. But keep a company healthy, whatever it means, in purpose and etc. And financially, because it's part of health, not all. So, and that's my job and then to make sure that we have the right, strategic direction, that it is, because in Switzerland the fiduciary duty of a board goes a little bit further than in some other countries. A board is directly responsible for the right strategy, the right people in place, etc. That goes a little bit further down.
Yeah.
So and isn't that a privilege to be able to have a good board just doing that? And
I mean, it's an amazing privilege, and it's an amazing privilege, by the way, for us to have you talk about that. What is your most important success metric? If you look back on your career one day, and you step down as chairman, what do you think will be the thing, or what do you hope will be the thing that you can be most proud of that you've achieved?
Still being alive.
You're only half joking, right?
No, I normally make a joke when I don't have the right answer yet. No, if you look over your shoulder, what I'm so proud of somewhere is that, and also appreciative, is that I could work for a company over all these years in all these places, etc., and feeling that that company fits me and my values, really. And it's not only easy, and sometimes there are some tensions, person versus, etc., but that you could work for a company that you say, hey, they live up to what I would like to be living up to, and this, in my eyes, is something that I'm quite proud of. To also then the journey. I use the word journey because it has been, we. I've done it with my wife that I know when I was little, so I know her for 50 years marriage almost. But to be able to say, hey, this was something that came, but you embraced it, you didn't force it, and you saw the timeline through it, and we have been in all these countries, Peru, Ecuador, Chile, and then Europe, and so on, etc. And then being by chance somewhere, somebody, the right guy in the right place in the right time, that's luck.
Do you feel that that's true also? Because you say, I did always subscribe to the values of Nestlé. And so then it feels to me like it's not purely coincidence that if you really feel those values, you live those values, that you would end up in the position that you're in.
But look, when I started, I was in Peru. Peru, everybody left, Nestlé stays. Also a little bit linked with their activity. You cannot shut down a cow for a few weeks. I mean, or your relationship with farmers. We have factories all over the place. We are a very decentralized company. So we quite a few people working for Nestlé. But at the end of the day, it is we have 350, 400 factories in the markets. This is linked also with what we do, which is producing food with local ingredients through local factories for local consumers. That's why we all have 150 blends of Nescafé to adapt to local taste and all that. So, and seeing that, and being in these countries and staying, this long-term vision, the values I mentioned, this creating shared value principle that actually was formulated 15, 20 years ago as such, was always lived upon. We didn't frame it like this, you see? Isn't it the same with these environmental commitments that we have? It is not all of a sudden that we say, well, after Paris, we're going to start committing. We were doing so much already, but then you start to frame it in sync with with the language of society. So during the 40 so many years I've been in Nestlé, that has been the story.
Yeah.
Of adjusting, adapting, answering, listening, being open to. We as a company had a little bit of an attitude that is also quite Swiss in the sense of do what you think you have to do and shut up. And today you have to communicate more,
We're happy that you're here to talk to us, that you're not sitting here.
But
being silent.
we have so much reality and talk like this. We should talk a bit more, engage, explain, allow people to understand us better. Sometimes critical, sometimes they're not believing yet. But it's our job to better connect with the call it the questioning that the society honestly gives us and giving answers, and to do that through our brands, to as a company. So this, and then I must say, is very interesting. I feel future we have. It is this awareness of all the issues that we have, but also the awareness that answers can be given. And I think science, there's an acceleration of science that is tremendous, and that acceleration of science and knowledge and connecting all that is going to be so much rewarding and giving all the answers that are part of the questions that are part of our anxiety. I don't speak of geopolitics, science cannot help there, but all the food systems, for example, also the diseases, or you see also, although very bad experience, although it's not a new experience, but the COVID test. At the end of the day, it was a major shake of our communities and all. But very fast, the answers of vaccines and all that. It's artificial intelligence, what that all entails. I hope we can master it well and frame it well. But there's so much promise in there. I feel this
it's
is
interesting because you mentioned that the origin of the company was sort of like a scientist coming up with nutritious food for a baby, and you're saying the future is more science, more knowledge, more inventions. I want to make sure that we get to some questions from the audience also, Paul. So if you have any questions, get them ready, and then we'll come to you in just a second. And while you do, I just want to ask you this, Paul. So you've had a career that spanned, as we said, many decades, but also many continents. You've lived in, I think, at least 3 continents, and more than 10 countries. And you mentioned Peru, Ecuador, Chile, various countries in Europe, West and East. But what would be for you the country if you were to start today? You started your career, and you went on the unbeaten path. You went far away. You went from Belgium, you went to Latin America. If you today had to make the same decision, same choice, where would you go?
Actually, I didn't decide. My wife and I, we wanted to go abroad. To have an international experience, you have to do it when you're young. You have more flexibility, you know that. You're a father of 2 now, and that's why I called Nestlé. Actually, I was working for another company, and I called Nestlé.
Called the consumer line?
No.
You called the consumer line, or?
No. I had a friend who was talking, who worked for Nestlé, and he was talking about Nestlé being there and here, and so I called Nestlé and I said, look, we want to go out, and you have operations all over the place, and we want to be part. Look, we don't have a lot of experience, but a lot of enthusiasm, and that's how I went to Latin America. So they sent me out there. And,
Would you do it again that way? Just
and I
take
would-
it to anywhere.
Well, I mentioned something like Latin America because at the time, Latin America was the continent of the future, still is. So,
It is again.
Still is continent of the future, and there was certain affinity culturally, if you want, and so we said, yeah, Latin America, and that's where we started. But then we have openness. We went to other places, and would you do that again? Well, first of all, yes, I would be interested of going somewhere, and seeing other idiosyncrasies, countries, other horizons, and because it enriches you. When I spoke about contextual thinking, that helps you to give that capacity of thinking in context because you're taken out of your comfort zone completely, and
Into a completely new.
yeah, but it's enriching. If you, and it was tough though. I must say for the family, the shining path in Peru was not a simple
Not a
thing.
joke.
It was not a joke. You have to change cars and security, but yet at the same time you're young and you learn from it and you see, and then you go to another country where it is cozy, nicer, stable. You value stability all of a sudden much more than if when you always had that, and so you learn a lot. And I think for leaders, one of the qualities for leaders is always being able to think in context, which is a bit linked with what I like too, is this detached involvement, and that you can, also for yourself, that you can, you're the prime actor of your own life. You're acting your life. That you're always also in the capacity of playing the play of your life, but also being in the public and observe you. It's the same with the contextual thinking of a leader, being able to put yourself in the broader context of things, knowing what's happening in the world now today, and understanding, connecting the dots, also to make your reaction relevant to the intensity of the problem, and not overreacting. You see, that helps you not to overreact, and you have that in your personal life, but you have that also as a leader of a broader company where you have people actually. They should believe in your judgment, and that is always helped by being able to think in context. If you think in context also, you give time a chance without losing time. But give time a chance. There's so much anxiety of now, fast. Take 2 steps back, think in context, and that's a little bit what my company has given me too. I have seen that from the leaders before, and so we try to transmit that also
To the next
yeah,
generations. I think it's a great moment now to turn to questions from the audience, and I see already that there's 2 over here, so why don't we take 2 questions at a time. Maybe first the gentleman over there, and then I see a lady in the row before. Yeah, so we'll hear. Please say who you are, ask your question, and then hand over the microphone to the next person.
I'm Alejandro. I'm a student from Mexico, studying BBA, so administration. And I just wanted to ask, in regarding what you mentioned, that in terms of globalization and deglobalization, you said something that you didn't believe that globalization is ending, and I wanted for you to expand maybe on Nestlé's terms, like on experience on the field, because when you think about like global businesses, like normally Nestlé's or like P&G, these companies are like the benchmarks for what is like to have a global supply chain and how to handle. So, instance COVID, so lessons from COVID maybe. So yeah, this is maybe you can expand on this.
Thank you. And we'll maybe just also get the second question. Try to remember both. So the first is on globalization versus deglobalization, and then.
Hello, my name is Madali. I'm from India. My question is more related to how you deal with controversy. when the public is against you. Like, for example, in India, we had a Maggie crisis where Maggie was banned by the government, and there were mixed sentiment. So how do you keep the public on your side, and also how do you keep the employees motivated to be like, okay, this is going to end, and this is just a passing time?
So globalization and controversy.
Well, there is a global answer, but also a company answer. We are very decentralized, extremely decentralized. So we have short supply chains. So if we say there is this deglobalization happening, what does it mean to us? De facto, not too much. For us as a company, I think the world, yes, there's quite a few things to be read in there and organized. But for us, we are very local as such. Also, over 90% of all what we sell is produced locally through our factories. And you know, you're from Mexico. We have quite a sizable industrial setup there. We just have inaugurated a new factory in Santa Cruz, which is quite also linked with coffee and coffee farmers. But that's so we don't have too much challenge. I mean, the COVID came and the links were broken. We actually were quite not immune, but quite strong in a situation like this, which we then relatively to others enjoyed. But I do believe, though, that what you see before the world was like there were centripetal forces, so people were converging. And I mentioned a bit the certain international institutions that had the authority to frame and to dictate or to inspire other countries, and they were trying to copy. That's over a bit. You feel it. There is not one convergence point anymore. You start to have blocks, and that's the polarization you have. But I say deglobalization is, in that sense of taking positions and blocks building up, is true. That's happening. But globalization per se, think about data. If you want to deglobalize data, good luck for you. I mean, so the world is linked, and the physical world may be having some disruptions, or the geopolitics may be building up borders again or somewhere. But over time, logic is going to prevail, and the logic is that water flows. Try to hold it. And I feel that's the thing that's going to dictate over time. But we need leadership that see these contexts and building relationships. I do believe that the world is not going to be, I always say Descartes, huh? Cartesian thinking.
Rational thinking.
Yeah, which is cause-effect, rational thinking and all that. There's other ways of thinking. If you would put Descartes on the table with Confucius and say, can you give me a judgment on the same situation, you would have a totally different view, you see. Look, if you have a country that says allies are assets, that's a little bit the North American style. Allies, these are assets. You ask the Chinese, what are allies? Allies, they say, are liabilities. They oblige you to take them into account. Now, these are fundamental differences, and that's going to dictate the world. There's not going to be one truth. There's going to know, and that's what I feel is more important than the supply chain.
The supply chain, and then on the India question.
Yeah, well, I mentioned that ambiguity. Yeah? You say, what do you do to keep the population on your side? I think truth, and. I was very close to this whole problem. I actually went there. It was like a fallen rock star with all cameras and all, very fast setting the scene. And instant noodles, Maggi noodles, and in India is quite a sizable product and very beloved by the public. And all of a sudden, in one of the states, the local sanitary authorities were detecting some apparently lead in the product, and that was simmering in the state, and the local management of Nestlé handling this here and there until it came to a point that it would be obliged by taking from the whole country the product out because that was in the news in New Delhi, and that was then national. And we were a little bit naive there in the saying no. We test all the products we have, and we have a major system of quality and all that keeps samples and all from etc. No lead found. But we do also know that if you open a package like that in New Delhi, you actually, it's all lead in the air. You can cut it with a knife. No, that product absorbs it, but that's all blah blah. And we had a contact. I flew in there when I saw and knew that it was going into the news, and they were to dictate us to take it from the market, the recall. And I met the national sanitary responsible, and he was totally, quite aggressive and all. And I say, okay, we know more or less that we agree to disagree. And there, 1 hour later, we decided we take it out of the market, and we do it before they say we have to. And we made the statement. The statement was very short. We said, look, first statement, first line, our product is safe. That's what I say to the press too. I can tell you, our product is safe. But there is doubt in the air. There is uncertainty. And we don't want to force our consumers with uncertainty. They have to be certain and as such we take the product back. Then there was a few hours before the national government was saying we have to take it back. They didn't like it, but anyhow. But we took the initiative. And you can imagine the journalist, what do you mean that you say your product is safe, that our government is totally stupid? And you see, these are the questions that you get. And then you say, no, I don't say that. I didn't say that. I say there's confusion. We say yes, they say no. Let's clean it up first. And not having that in the market there and the consumers doubting for. And that's how you keep then also the consumer, because everybody was also saying, hey, we're so happy. But taking the product out is 5 factories during 6 months, 7 months closed.
Huge cost to the company, of course. But you say
it was something give and take 350 million.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah, that's a lot.
No, it's a huge amount of money. But so you say what prevails is truth, and what prevails is being decisive, and staying in charge of your own story in a way. And
well, we knew the product was safe. We knew it. But there is, doubt out there. There is agendas out there, and then you can say it's not fair. Who told you the world is fair? The world is not fair. Don't cry over this. Handle it. Take it all back. Because this was not about a few tons of products, many tons. It is about the trust in your company or your brand, for that matter. And that goes way. That's why I told local management too. He's not there anymore. I say, don't you get this? This is not a product quality issue.
Yeah.
This is a political and a trust issue. Political issue, this is apart, but that has repercussions in trust. This is about our fundamental value is trust, and we're losing it. So, and that's why you then say we take it back until that is cleared. But you have to dare to say our product is safe. That was a sentence that actually holds, and that provokes lots of anger. But you see, that's standing up for what you believe in. At the end of the day, without trying to be arrogant, but you stand up for what you believe in and you speak up, instead of trying to accommodate and trying to speak towards where the wind is.
Right.
But then first we have then also to know where you stand.
Right.
Quite a few don't know where they are.
Which is clear for us, I think. I wish we had time for more questions from the audience, but I would just maybe one final question from the audience. I've got a question here, and maybe we can stay afterwards for asking the question directly to Paul. And after that question, we'll slowly wrap up, because You said good food, good life, but we haven't had food yet tonight. So, we want to make sure we get to that. Can we get a microphone over here? Oh, yeah, you have one, yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Bulcke. Thank you for being with us today. My name is Daule. I'm from Kazakhstan, and I'm a big fan of KitKat as well.
Good for you.
Your journey might have had a lot of positive and negative things, right? But what was the biggest lesson that cost you money, time, or something else?
That cost me money. Well, look, there are so many smaller stuff coming up. But big lesson was what I just mentioned. That was a big one. That was my biggest, actually, act of faith, a leap of faith. Of hey, we have to do this. 350 million is a lot of money. But also launching products, and I don't even. But you believe in a product, you launch it, and it's no success, or a brand positioning, or I must say there's many of them, smaller ones, but I wouldn't say, hey, that's no.
If I may step in with one final question from my side, if we turn it to the personal, we're going into the labor market, we're going to start our career. Well, at least the students are. I'm a little bit further down the road now. I can't say that anymore. What would your advice be to students as they go into the labor market?
Well, two things, very fast. A career, depending on, even if you have and you make your own company and all that, success is is not a dash. It's a
marathon.
Yeah. Why would you try to finish your life early? I mean, enjoy the journey. See it building up. And certain times you have to take one step back. True. Then you have to take a step back to jump better too. I mean, but try to. And I know you have been young too. And I tried to do 5 years of university in 4 because hey, I was. Why would I lose a year? If I think I would have enjoyed 2 years more of hopping around in the world. And but you see, so but see that timeline. It takes time. You build up and try to not enjoy only the end station. You see, a career is not going for the end station. It's saying, for example, I'm going to work, if you want to start working for a company like Nestlé, saying, I'm really going to be successful, my whole professional life is going to be successful only if I get to the CEO job. Oh, poor you. There's only one. And so don't condition your professional happiness if you look over your shoulder later with the end station. It should be the journey and enjoy that. Another point, that is the second thing, is if you work for a company with hierarchy and never work for your boss. And I have to explain
it's easy
that.
for you to say you don't have a boss in Paul.
Oh. I have the General Assembly. I have the shareholders. I have, but
and your wife.
But yeah. I don't think you should have answered this. I'm not going to answer this. But no, never work for your boss is a little bit strange if you hear like this, but it's true. Somewhere, first of all, you work for the company, and the company you're there for the company, not reverse. That's another. But you work for your colleagues or the people working for you. They make you. And as a company, we try always to give you a boss that sees that, that values that. If you work for your boss, you condition actually yourself for the perception of somebody instead of living up for what you believe in and enjoying it. And the enjoyment of your job comes from the people working for you and your colleagues. So that is something that I really think I lived up to somewhere. And all the bosses are not easy. I had some bosses that say, Jesus. And then I had a friend, that's true, a friend who told me, hey, remember, you don't work for him. You work for this fine company. So don't slam the door here because of him. He is already 63 years old. He's not going to last long. So, but the philosophy is behind this. So, and try to enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey. We've enjoyed the journey with you tonight, Paul. And,
thank you.
And I wish you were our boss. So we want to thank you again for celebrating with us today 50 years of EU Business School, and we hope to be able to celebrate the next big milestone also with you as a guest.
Congratulations again.